Hi, in this video, we're going to be answering the question, what do you do with an old 401k plan? I'm Rick Vazza, president of Driven Wealth Management, and this is one of the questions I get asked probably more so than any other. You've left a company, you've got the old 401k fund sitting there, and what do you do next? Well, typically there's going to be three options that you can consider. We're going to kind of walk through how you can evaluate those different options. And I'll explain to you the one that I typically am recommending, especially for you high-income earners. It can be really a life-changing opportunity. And you'll probably be wondering why you don't hear about it more often. So let's jump in and we'll go through kind of what that decision tree looks like. All right, so in this case, you've just left the company and you've got your old 401k plan here. What do you do next? Well, the first thing that you should know is you actually don't have to do anything. So for those of you, especially with account values over $5,000, you actually don't have to leave the plan. If you're under $5,000, typically the plan is going to kick you out. They're not just being mean, but there's record keeping, all those annoying statements they have to send you. There's a cost associated with maintaining your account. And so if you're below that value, it can be pretty expensive to kind of keep you and just maintain it. So they're often going to give you the boot, in which case you got to pick between one of these other options. But if you're over $5,000, you can technically stay in the plan. It's usually the worst of the three options, the least optimal, if you will. And the reason for that is because the employer is in control of the 401k plan, not you. Meaning they can change institutions, they can change the investment menu, the selection that you have to choose from, really at any time. And actually it's quite common for them to review the plan fairly regularly and make those changes every once in a while. So you can imagine how if you've gone a few jobs down the road and you've just kind of been leaving your 401k plan where it is, maybe you're with Fidelity at one point and a few years later it's then with Schwab or Vanguard and you haven't really been keeping up with it. Now you have to track it down, maybe your investments are out of whack. It's easy to see how your plan can really fall off the rails if you're not staying on top of it. So commonly this is an area where people find themselves and they're really not happy with it years down the road. So I'd say that's typically not something that you want to be falling into, but I do point it out that technically you don't have to make a decision. Now that leaves us with really the other two to be choosing between, and the first of which you've probably heard pretty frequently, probably from the Fidelities, the Schwabs, and the Vanguards that I was talking about, as you've likely seen their commercials, and that's called a rollover. And as the name implies, you're rolling over the funds from your old 401k into what's called an IRA. And that is an individual retirement account. Now, as the name also implies, that is an individual account specific to you, meaning you're now in control. You can decide the institution that you want, you can decide the investments that you want, and almost all of these institutions now, the investment options are almost limitless. You could argue that's a pro or a con. We're often our own worst enemy, so it could be an easy way to get yourself into some trouble as well. But that is an area that's particularly touted, the increased investment options as a reason a lot of people do end up choosing the rollover IRA. Also recognize, typically now in the IRA, you'll have the opportunity to potentially work with a financial planner or investment manager. So, they will typically charge you a fee in order to provide their services. It's also why you often see these touted in the commercials, because it's a way for the institutions to charge ultimately. But that can be a benefit. Obviously, if you're able to leverage that service, that can be a great thing. But there are also some downsides to that, depending on what your planning opportunity is. And so that brings me to number 3, which is really the opportunity that I am typically recommending for especially high-income earners, which is called the roll-in. And the reason the roll-in can be so powerful is because it opens the door for backdoor Roth contributions. And backdoor Roth contributions, the details of which are outside of the scope of this video, but I will in the next video be detailing what exactly a backdoor Roth contribution is and why the roll-in in particular is so powerful and needed in order to utilize backdoor Roth contributions in comparison, for example, to the rollover IRA. So it can be a very powerful wealth-building action, arguably one of the most powerful, especially when done on a year-over-year basis. But the roll-in, what exactly is it? So what you're doing is you're taking the old 401k and you're actually rolling it into the new 401k plan. So if you go to a new company and they offer a 401k plan, or maybe you launch your own business and you've started a 401k plan, but you're taking those funds and moving it into the new plan, it's important to recognize not all plans will allow you to do this. So certain plans will allow a roll-in. It's a great opportunity to ask your HR department, does the 401k allow for roll-ins? And if it does, this can be a tremendous opportunity to take advantage of with that old plan by moving it over. What exactly that opportunity opens up, again, is that backdoor Roth contribution, which in the next video, I'm going to be talking about more of the details there. So I hope to see you in there. I hope you found this information helpful so far. Talk to you soon.